But these plans are such a mess that his social care minister, Marie Todd, who sat in the chamber just now, said this week. It's been a little bit hard for me to get my head around. A bit hard for the minister in charge to get her head around. First Minister, she's talking about your plans. Because before Humza Yousaf failed upwards, he was not just the Health Secretary, he was Cabinet Secretary for Social Care. He wrote these shambolic plans. So what does it say about the First Minister's policy if his own Care Minister doesn't understand it?
First Minister.
It just goes to show how desperate Douglas Ross is when he starts with the personal attacks on me or indeed any of my colleagues.
Thank
not
you,
on the policy,
members.
not on the substance, on the personal attacks from a man who is, of course, the least popular elected politician on these islands by any poll estimation in the entire country. And the best retort Douglas Ross has is I'm catching you up. You're still the most unpopular leader, elected politician in this country by quite a country mile, presiding officer, or Douglas Ross is. On consultancy spend, because it is an important point, of course, the Scottish Government and our officials are absolutely focused on making the National Care Service work. But it is, of course, important that we bring in those additional technical and specialist expertise that allows the Scottish Government to ensure that we make progress on the legislation itself. And in terms of the finances around the National Care Service, which is a very legitimate question, I've said, of course, we will engage with trade unions, engage with local government, and hopefully, when we reach a compromise position on the National Care Service, we'll come back with a revised financial memorandum. But I'm hardly going to take, and neither will any of ministers in my government take any lectures on financial literacy from Douglas Ross, who demanded that this government copy Liz Truss's tax cuts, which would have cost the Scottish Government £500 million and caused economic carnage to our Scottish public finances.
Douglas Ross.
This is absolutely hopeless from the First Minister. He said it was a desperate tactic by me to quote his own minister. And listening to that answer, I'm pretty sure Marie Todd still can't get her head around the policy or the costings, because it's quite clear the First Minister can. This is all starting to look like another Humza Yousaf disaster. The man who couldn't get the trains to run on time, forced police officers to breaking point and left our NHS in crisis is now doing his best to throw social care into chaos as well. He doesn't know if he's building a national care service or a white elephant. Humza Yousaf has no idea how much this centralised care service is going to cost, or when this bureaucratic nightmare will be ready, or how it will improve the situation for people who desperately need better care. The last thing, the very last thing our struggling care service needs is an administrative overhaul costing billions of pounds when it's been starved of cash from the front line. So will Humza Yousaf do the right thing, stop wasting taxpayers' money and scrap these plans altogether?
First Minister.
Quite incredible, presiding officer, that when we have given a pay uplift to adult social care workers, Douglas Ross describes that as a waste of money. Because every penny we spend on social care is ensuring that we lift standards for adult social care workers, ensure we're lifting standards for those who are in receipt of care. And while we do that, yes, build a national care service that has fair work at its heart, that builds a national care service that has ethical commissioning at its heart, so that the profits from care aren't just gleamed away into bank accounts in the Cayman Islands, something, of course, the Conservatives would like to see. A national care service that makes sure we put sectoral bargaining at its very heart. That's what we are committed to. And all of that, of course, in the midst of the fact that we've had over a decade of austerity from Douglas Ross's Conservative, that we've had a hard Brexit imposed upon us, and of course the disaster of the mini-budget, which, if we had listened to Douglas Ross and gone ahead with tax cuts for the wealthiest, our budget would be worth £500 million less. So I'll take no lectures about financial literacy, nor indeed for standing up for those who are working in our care service from Douglas Ross or the Conservatives.